everybody, Matt Michaels here on the Vegas Bad Boys podcasting, here with bad boy Rome Simon, formerly Simon Street. He's back here today. We got the bad boy of comedy, Rob Bussolari, and we're joined by Travis. Travis has been a big backer of the show for a long time and has given us some inside information as well as his opinions and views. Also joining us, Blake Grayson, who is a fantastic, knowledgeable person when it comes to pro wrestling. Speaking knowledgeable, George Hermosa.
There you go.
Very knowledgeable man. And, of course, Jesus Ricardo Rodriguez, the golden voice.
Kayfabe.
Oh, that's him?
That'll do.
You know what? Yesterday, Survivor Series happened in Chicago. A lot of things went down, including the returns of R-Truth and Randy Orton. And then I guess CM Punk decided time to come back, huh? All right. So, Travis, you kind of brought this together in terms of wanting to talk. Why don't you start off and let's get into it?
Well, I mean, there's so much to talk about. I guess, what do you want? You want to go top to bottom of the card?
Yeah, we can start with the top of the card, which was
was War Games match. Damage Control. Bailey, Asuka, Kyrie, and Io against the team of Bianca, Charlotte, Becky, and the double ring, double cage in Chicago. Sold out, 18,000 people, 32 degrees outside, but died. And did the roles of the match of the participants, and then once all 8 females were in the, as they say, the match beyond begins. And we were talking earlier about the spot Io did with the trash can on the head. Some people think she took 9 years to set that up.
It was like 7 years. People are exaggerating.
Well, the whole thing, setup. I like that word because just in general, what do you guys feel in terms of how the both war games, how the setups were up to then the quote unquote start of the match? I mean, it's tough to go in there and work, just one-on-one starting and then have the 2-on-1s and then the 2-on-2s, still continue that story without it getting jumbled or just becoming kind of a mess. Do they do a good job in telling the story of the war games?
I felt like this time around they did a better job. I think they were very strategic in picking the right people to kind of start it off. People who, like with the men's, Finn Balor, obviously, the announcer even said it, cardio for people who really want to listen to what the announcer's saying. But I think also, too, he's somebody that is a good start. And then for the women, obviously, Bianca Belair. So, but I also felt like they did a better pacing in the women's versus with the men. But I feel like there was a lot to unpackage in the men, obviously, toward the end of the show. But the women's definitely did a good job. I was watching it with family, and I kind of called. I said, "Look, I bet you Bailey gonna eat that pin." And even though that did happen, there was a story that led up to it, and we'll probably see that more unfold the next coming weeks.
Yeah, is that what we're looking at, guys? Are we looking at potentially Bailey getting, ousted from Damage Control, and then the Horsewomen reuniting?
Yeah, she'll turn face.
Yeah.
This was all set
I
up
think,
for her to take that loss and then get kicked out of the group.
I think this is the perfect storm to Bailey, they've been using the term horsewoman over and over in the past couple of weeks. I think Bailey gets kicked out. Her two horsewomen mates, Becky and Charlotte, bring her in. You have your 4 damage control crew, the 3 horsewomen, and there's that empty spot that could be filled. And if you got to make it to 4 horsewomen,
it's gonna be Izzy. Izzy's gonna come in, and she's got the history with Bailey from back in the day. Come on, totally obvious.
That was the. I mean, I was thinking, maybe they'll swerve people and throw Sasha Banks in there, and you have your original 4 horsewomen against the damage control, because someone is a free agent, and I don't know why you would keep bringing up the horsewoman name if you don't have the idea of going full all in, we could say, and bring her back into the mix.
Can I one up you on that one, possibly, Travis? One thing that I think we're looking at is that's an obvious. But what we're not looking at is, you say damage control. You take Bailey out of the equation. You really have 3. Dakota Kai still isn't 100%. And there's been many talks of Julia getting brought over. Triple H is hungry for her. The company's hungry for her. And if you don't know much about Julia, I mean, just watch her. Come on. That move to Glorious Buster, Glorious Driver. She's somebody that, has been in stardom. Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné wanted to specifically wrestle her when she went overseas. And that's somebody, I think, that if WWE can get a huge acquisition of that, you have 4 solid women who represent Japan versus the 4 horsewomen. You could book that, make that really something special.
Well, I mean, Julia, her contract's not up till March. I don't think she's a big enough name to skip NXT. And
possibly.
The American audience doesn't know her. Right. I think the one thing people need to understand, that no matter what we read on Twitter and see from certain websites, that's a small percent of WWE fan base. Their fan base doesn't know about much in Japan, let alone someone in stardom. So there's a lot with her. Personally, I don't see her coming to WWE when the time is, which would be spring at the earliest. So, but I think, like I said, things for a reason. And throwing horsewomen so much in the past couple weeks, I think that's a sign that they have something idea. And also, Dakota is pretty much ready to be back.
Now, I'll leave this one alone, but with Dakota Kai and the other 3 women, if you were to put them up against 4 horsewomen, do you think that's something that substantially is a bookable thing? And I'm not trying to devalue damage control minus Bailey. I'm just wondering, is that enough to really get us excited?
I mean, why not? I mean, Eels champ, entertaining as hell. Kyrie's talented. Her and Asuka are a perfect pair. And Dakota's no more of an as in quote unquote oddity of the group than Shotzi was with in the match last night with her team. So yeah, it's a marketable match.
The size difference, it would be hard to sell those 3 smaller women against 3 larger, more athletic women with more belts between them. That's a bit of a suspension of belief, or a suspension.
Okay, but what are you selling at that point? Because that's not like that's going to be the main program. Because one, you're taking Bianca out of the loop, so she's a main eventer anywhere. You still have Rhea, and you still have Jade. You have your main eventers for singles match, ticket sellers, as far as females elsewhere, and they're the other 8 women, the 4 whoever
I
their
guess my
opponents would
confusion
be.
is, what are the 4 horsewomen actually? What are we calling them? Well, who comprises the
That's
4
what
horsewomen?
Becky, Charlotte, Bailey, and Sasha. They were called the 4. I mean, this goes back to the NXT days.
You got to
So,
excuse
I
Rob.
mean,
You got to Rob is not an NXT person at all.
right.
Blake, what are your feelings on the women's match, man?
I thought the match was great. I thought it was awesome how Becky and Charlotte got back together. It looked like with the hug, crowd popped for it. So I thought it was good storytelling all the way through. Just like everybody else in this chat, I do think Bailey is getting kicked out. But I'm curious though, when she turns face, are we getting like Bailey with the headband and the streamers and all that stuff? Like, how far is Bailey going to go with it? So I'm very interested in that.
Hey, Ricardo, when you think about what the women's division was like, when you were there, what is the difference in the evolution between then and now?
So right before I left, this is around the time where Becky, Bailey, Charlotte were just on that cusp of starting everything over down at NXT. This is like the original takeovers, which I was a part of the very first takeover, the first 2, I think, takeovers. And then I think it was really when Natalya and Charlotte had that match that really just got kind of like set a lot of things in motion. Between when I think Bret Hart and Rick were in the corners. I mean, that match was awesome. And I think that's around the time where everything kind of started going off, which is also really awesome because at the same time, it was around that time frame that the women's soccer team had like dominated the World Cup. There was this whole like women empowerment thing that was going on. I think Michelle Obama was also like really big behind that at the time when obviously Obama was president. So there was this huge, big women's empowerment. Ronda was like dominating the UFC. I know there was something else that had happened. I want to say in tennis, maybe. Maybe Serena had done something awesome. I don't remember, probably.
Yeah.
But there was a huge like overall empowerment in women's sports. So that's around the time when it was like 2013, 14, around that time frame.
Right.
And I mean, big difference obviously between there and now. And then I do feel that since then, a lot of between them, Impact has an awesome women's division.
Yes.
And I think Impact gets overlooked a lot. AEW, has their people there too. I feel as a whole it doesn't have the match capacity sometimes as Impact or even NWA sometimes. But maybe because they're not given proper time or effort.
Hey, George. George, Chris just brought up a good point here. If Bailey goes back to the hugging and inflatables, would that be a regression in her character development?
I think so. While I was a big fan of the Bailey theme song, the whatever they were called, the wacky wavily hand thing, like you can't just go back. You can maybe have glimpses of maybe that character and evolving into what you are now, but you can't do the whole side pony gimmick anymore. You just got to move forward. You can't just go back. You don't see Triple H being the American blue blood anymore. Like he just kept evolving and evolved into what he was. Even Taker, when he went back to the Dead Man, he wasn't fully the Dead Man that he was once in the early to mid 90s. He had a little bit of glimpses of the Dead Man with American Badass with MMA. So I like to see Bailey kind of not go fully back to the hugger gimmick, but just maybe have glimpses of like, hey, maybe like have the hugger song, but like a remix of it, So just I wouldn't mind seeing that, but I'm all with maybe Sasha coming back. I think Sasha still has that itch of wrestling outside of WWE that maybe a little bit that she got derailed from when she got hurt. Maybe she'll do Wrestle Kingdom if she's healthy, and then I say WrestleMania she comes back at the big 3 of the Horsewomen mystery partner against Damage Control. I just hope she doesn't bring that horrific, ugly ass crisscross wannabe theme song that she plays wherever she's at nowadays.
I kind of like it. I'm not
Oh
gonna lie.
God, it's the war. How do you like? I mean, is it because it has that jump crisscross remix kind of thing, or
That's exactly why.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. You
I
can
hate
rap.
it.
You can rap jump to that track.
I
Yeah,
hate it.
that's
And
kinda-
what's even worse is maybe knowing after watching her interview with Austin and just how much I don't know if I'm sure it was half character, half real how she is about like she's full of herself and just the way she says money. Like, oh God, I hate it. I hate
I
that
lo-
theme song with a passion. I'm glad somebody likes it, but it's so bad.
Honestly,
I mean, let's
honestly,
be
out of
realistic. I
everything-
think most likely if she comes back, or I'm at the point of comes back. You know, as far as music, Snoop is most likely going to be tied into it to somehow. So I mean, I don't think we have to worry too much about crisscross. You know,
She
or
can
anything
come
like
back
that.
in her Star Wars theme, dressed up in her Star Wars armor, and she'll grab a whole new group of people with her too. Get all the
Mhm.
Star Wars nerds.
She could be out in full Beskar,
Yes.
Mandalorian gear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, what a bunch of
But you
geeks
know
you are
what?
talking about Star Wars. We're here for
But
pro
you know what?
wrestling, damn it.
I
If
was so
she
happy to
did
find out they
grab-
didn't kill off her character.
If she did grab that audience, that would be huge for WWE.
Mhm.
You know,
Well,
because
it's real simple. Have the woman that's Bo-Katan, who's a co-star, and
Mhm.
have like since it's WrestleMania, do something to that degree. I believe
you
that
guys
actress
saying?
lives in Oregon. You know, I'm just saying. You know,
I got to
Take
agree with
advantage.
Simon Street.
I'm actually very interested if she's going to keep that finisher. Like, I wonder
the
if they're
bank
going to have her
statement?
go.
or are you talking about the
No,
one she took over?
the new one. She had trouble
Yeah.
with at the beginning. So I'm wondering if she's
Yeah.
going to keep that when she comes back.
If she comes back.
If she does come
Yeah.
back, I'll be honest with you, she probably should stick to some of the same, like the bank statement and Meteora. Although there's so many females that are doing Meteora on the women's roster right now. So
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All she has to do is go.
The final question on the women, and this is something that could be questionable, but if they don't work it out with Sasha, is it possible that Ronda would do a one-off?
no. I think if you're going to use the word horsewoman, then you're bringing in Ronda's crew.
yeah.
Mhm.
Ronda doesn't have to do a one-off. I don't think she wants to. I think people are confused on what happened last week, but you know, it was a favor in a city she didn't have to get on an airplane to go to, and that was it. You know, if Ronda really wanted to wrestle again in WWE, if she had a reason to not be in WWE and she still wanted to wrestle, she would be on AEW and not ROH. So yeah, if it's going to be the horsewomen, as far as Ronda's involved, then it would have to be her crew, the horsewomen, and they can't form, only for the fact that Marina's under contract. You know, I mean, obviously Shayna's there and they could get adjustment, but you know,
When
they
do
couldn't
they
get Marina.
elevate
So
Shayna Baszler?
I'm sorry, what?
When do they finally elevate Shayna Baszler? She's decent enough on the mic and she has the skills in the ring. She transitioned well to an in-ring performer for WWE style, fighting. What more does she really have to do? Because she's decently sellable. When she's on there, I'm interested in what she has to say. I'm interested in her feuds, and I don't like that she's just used as a hitman and a jobber. It's to put somebody else over. It's annoying. I think she's got the talent to do more than what they're giving her.
Oh, she's beyond talented, but you know, you only have 2 titles. So what do? You know, you can't wait till everyone wants to get pregnant. So that's the hard part. So
Yeah, but I mean,
no,
Rhea
I'm
Ripley's
serious.
not
I
gonna
mean,
hold the title forever.
it's no secret that, you know, next year maybe Charlotte's last year for a while.
Yeah.
So you know, I mean, there's
Too many
that. You know, I
figure
mean,
eights with Andrade.
you could see that eventually Bianca would probably want to go on that route as being a mother, and so on. So you know, it's one of those things where if Charlotte is to leave, eventually. And if Bianca was to take time off eventually, got a whole. I mean, how many females are on NXT TV that you could call up tomorrow? At least 5.
There's like 4. 4 or 5.
Mm.
4 or 5.
There's
I
about
just feel
4
bad for
that
Natalia
would.
because she's proven to be very squishy over the years.
I mean,
would say
if you
I would,
if you really wanted to like get in ring, you could make a good program solid with Natalia versus Shayna for the title, but that's a program. That's more of a NXT title program. So, and Shayna's now that they could send her to NXT and pop the ratings. So anything's possible. I think we know who's coming up soon from NXT. So.
All right, so Ricardo, the second match on that card was the Intercontinental title defense for Gunther and taking on The Miz. First off, do you think that the IC belt has gotten restored to its former, prestige with Gunther's title reign here? And also, how valuable is a guy like Miz in putting in that kind of work and making one hell of a match that we knew he's not going to win, but the match was still just solid?
So I will start off with, I will be the first to tell you that even when I was there, I was a Miz doubter. And I've done interviews where I've said that I hated the Miz, but I guess it wasn't until really afterwards that I really appreciated what the Miz is and what the Miz does and how valuable he really is. He's made a lot of good points in his promos where he doesn't get hurt. He does play it safe, but he's solid. He'll always be a company man, and I think that's important. Obviously, he's older, and he has a gorgeous family. So, dude, he's awesome. I mean, and he's proven it time and time again where he'll go away and then he comes back and you're like, you know what? He's definitely valuable. Do I think that the IC title has restored itself? To what time frame, though? Has it regained a lot of value? Sure. Is it back to where it was, let's say, in like the 90s? No. I'll be honest, I haven't followed too much of what's been going on as of late, so I don't know if and again, it's nothing against Gunther or anything, but have they made him defend it consistently? Or is it like one of those other titles that he has it, and I know even on other companies, they have it, but they never defend it. And if they do defend it, it's not anything that's worth noting because it's a one-off or it's like something that started in 1 week and then in 2 weeks it's done. Has there been a build-up to this? I honestly don't know. If it has, Miz is a good person to have it against. I'm happy for Gunther. I've met him once before, and then even back when he was on the Indies. So I don't know, man. Has it restored its prestige? Not to where it used to be. Is it on its way? Maybe. But I haven't really been following too much to tell you how they played it.
Yeah.
I think you said it right as to what era, because is the IC title what it was at WrestleMania 3 with Steamboat and Dragon? No. Is the IC title today what it was in 1990 with Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart? No. Who knows what, I don't know where you could really place the IC title at right now.
Is it better than where it was like a couple years ago? Sure, I think so.
Definitely better than when it was in the Attitude Era when you had like Godfather, Jarrett, D'Lo Brown, Edge, Goldust, all champion within like a month, right?
Yeah,
yeah, definitely an improvement from then.
But you made a good
Kurt
point.
Angle back then was amazing, and also let's not forget about Chris Benoit. Some of those IC matches were amazing. Some of the best technical matches ever wrestled. They would be bigger than some of the main championship matches today.
Yeah,
So here's a little story because I was there for this. When Cody was about to introduce the whole concept of trying to like change the strap color because that was something he wanted to do, and I was there for all this. And he was pitching ideas left and right. This is I think pre Stardust. Yeah, it's pre Stardust. So he was pitching ideas left and right on how to basically reestablish the IC title. So I remember when he had pitched the idea, because he told us right after he came out of that meeting of changing the strap color. So we knew ahead of time that was in talks. We didn't know it was going to happen, but we knew that he had just come out of the office and he had pitched an idea for IC title. So he went on this whole thing, right? And so it happens. Awesome. Title looks awesome. He does a little while. I don't know how long he had it, but he had it for a while. And then when he lost it, I remember he got so heated. And I don't blame him, because he had spent so much time pitching ideas and storylines and whatever, that right after he lost it, that title went into like a hot potato type deal. And I remember he was super upset that they had gone that route with it. And I don't blame him.
Doesn't he want to change the WWE title back to the Eagle?
He wanted
the
to
He has to get it. I mean, a lot of people say that, but
It was
he has
like
to
black
get it
and
first.
white and black. Like
Yeah, I'm just saying.
immediately.
Let's say he wins it. Is that rumor true? Or,
Huh?
I'm saying, let's say he beats Roman at WrestleMania 40. Is that rumor true that he wants to go back to the Eagle?
I mean, I think a lot of people would like to change the belts. No one's really publicly vocal about AEW. So that's like more shit. As far as Gunther, the IC title, you made a point of, does he defend it? That's because he did recently have a match with was it Bronson? And
Bronson with Ciampa, with Gable.
Yeah, but were they for the title? I think Ciampa was, but
Ciampa
was the Bronson match for the title?
Yeah, that was for the title as well.
All right.
Gable was as well.
So
I mean,
I
think I was going to say, when you have a match like last year against Sheamus, or even this year against Sheamus and McIntyre from WrestleMania, I think that is on its way for the IC belt to get back to its prestigiousness of what it had in WrestleMania 3 or WrestleMania 7 time, or 90-91, when you have Gunther against Sheamus and Drew just pretty much having the best match of the year. It's on its way.
One interesting thing that and it might just be my own thought process. I've always looked at mid-card title belts as a showcase title. So when you think of the Intercontinental title, you think of an opportunity to kind of reintroduce somebody that you maybe possibly, maybe they could be the top villain, right? Or it's just somebody that is responsible enough to be able to add in a little bit more than substantial filler, right? As far as the Intercontinental title, and as well as the United States title, I think that who you have in the pool is great. And the reason why I state that is because if you think about everybody that Gunther has gone against, out of all those competitors, which one could you see doing as good a job, or at least one peg below what he's done so far, to make that belt still be great? And so far, I can't say that some of the competitors he's had didn't. However, when I did watch Survivor Series with The Miz, I could definitely see an older gear Miz that we had a while back. Definitely could see him utilizing his gimmick of, I'm going to win by any means necessary, right? A lot of great things. So I would say, let's just say, in a different time reality, let's say he did beat Gunther last night. I wouldn't have a huge problem with him being an Intercontinental champion. It wouldn't have bothered me. And so that's when I think about when I see these mid-card belts. I like to see somebody that I don't have a problem. It might not be as the top billing as Gunther, because Gunther's done something amazing. What we're talking about, 500 and how many days as Intercontinental champion? So I want to see somebody, if they can't be on par, maybe a couple of steps, or hell, even better. Because again, that mid-card, we've seen what happens when somebody wins it because, hey, XYZ had it for too long. We had to put it on somebody, and they do a lackluster job.
Had he not been Money in the Bank, I would have liked to have seen Damian Priest go after it.
Yeah,
because it's all happening on Raw, and they keep claiming how Judgment Day has all the gold. They don't have all of it. They have most of it. They've got the tag belt. They've got Dom's whatever and Rhea Ripley. with the women's world championship. But that would have been good on Damian Priest, and I can also see that as a viable contender.
I think Damian would be a great champion right now.
You know, it's kind of interesting now that I think about it, as you were saying that, Rob. Right now, there's almost like this secret Legion of Doom type of thing. And I'm talking about from DC, because almost everybody has a belt is a heel, pretty much, and it's like they all work together. Because remember, the bloodline was in cahoots with the Judgment Day so that they don't take their belts. Everybody's protecting their chicken over there in WWE, and these heels are working together. They got a network.
Real quick on The Miz, though, I will say, and I've said it once and I'll say it again, regardless how you feel about The Miz has absolutely won at the game of life. You think about just life in general, his
just
wife,
with Maurice.
Yeah, with Maurice alone. But like just as wrestling career, like Jesus said, never gets hurt. Like he's like everybody's go-to. You need media guy, yeah, I'll do it. You need reality show, yeah, I'll do it. Like, or he's probably the one pushing it as well. But like in every single way, The Miz has completely won at the game of life.
I have to jump on what George is saying, because I don't think we'll appreciate The Miz until after he retires, and then we see his resume. Because how long has he been there?
2004.
Yep.
Come on.
That was $1 million Tough Enough that he was a runner-up in.
Yeah,
he needs to be a commentator, because he would be so good at that.
When he retires, that's when we'll really appreciate what he's done. I don't think we catch it right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Cena and a bunch of those guys. We didn't appreciate Cena until he left for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. One of the matches yesterday that was fascinating. It was such good storytelling for a lucha match. Was Dragon Lee versus Santos Escobar. George, your thoughts. I know you've studied wrestling. You've been in the ring. You know how difficult it is to tell a good story and keep the audience into it. How is it that those two, are we seeing the evolution where those two guys 3 years from now are going to be near the top?
1000%, especially Santos Escobar. Here's a guy that I first got introduced to him at a Lucha Underground when he was King Cuerno, and that guy was killing it back then. And just to kind of see his evolution, and back then he was doing great storytelling as well. I'm not big on like the AAA CMLL style. It can be a little too comedic at times for the most part. Obviously there's a non-comedic side to that as well. But seeing him there and seeing him involved in NXT for the time that he was there, and seeing like Dragon Lee, like there's a reason why Dragon Lee was only in NXT for like 6 months, because that guy's awesome. So you kind of put these two guys together, and man, I want to see more. Like I love the fact that now they're kind of doing the lucha style, but kind of doing it right, if that makes any sense, right? They tried with the Sin Cara stuff. That was maybe a little too, maybe too soon, or whatever it was. But I feel like they've kind of slowly transitioned into this evolution of style of like, doing lucha and kind of showcasing it the WWE way.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, that wasn't really lucha. It was American lucha. It's totally different than Mexican lucha.
Yeah.
And then also too, it helps a lot that Santos knows English, which is a big difference in Sin Cara, the original one. Sin Cara didn't want to learn English, and he didn't want to learn the American way. So that's why they kept putting him with me on the dark matches and the tours, because I knew how to do lucha. And not a lot of the guys, and obviously they couldn't keep putting him with Alberto, because Alberto was doing main event stuff. So I was one of the very few that knew actually lucha. So with Santos, he has an advantage that he already has the gimmick behind him. He speaks English, and then he knows how to do the American style. You just have to get the machine behind him.
Yeah. And just to be clear, like he speaks English, but more importantly, he's fluent in English. Because you can sit there and say like, oh, Nakamura speaks English, or Dragon Lee speaking. No. Santos is like very fluent in English. Like, and that makes a big difference in their eyes.
Would would Andrade still be there right now if he was like Escobar?
If he spoke English, yeah, I think so.
Oh, without
That's
a
why
doubt.
he was the That's why
You know,
Selena
it's
was
to
there.
like be Tony Montana. They even dressed up Escobar as Tony Montana. Like this is the more hokey he sounds and the more racistly Mexican he sounds, it seems like that's what they're going for. It's unfortunate to say.
But you know what's
Yeah.
interesting though, with Santos Escobar, that is really interesting, is he is more than one dimension. You see what I'm saying? You know, I was more surprised with him being this whole face coming into the main roster. Like for me, I thought that was a stretch with the LFO and everything, LFO.
LFO.
I know I said
UFO.
LWO. But him being a heel is amazing, and it's not just him being a heel in the way he knows how to do it better. If you've watched in NXT, he's able to partner with pretty much anybody or just solo by himself, to where he's captivating. He's somebody that this is a dangerous dude. This dude is calculated. This dude, unlike other people in mainstream media, if we found out he was hanging Wale from the top of a balcony, we might believe it. So, at the end of the day, he is definitely somebody who has that whole presence. And so I'm happy to see him in this type of, like I call it, NXT, Santos Escobar, main roster, going to be tearing up stuff. I'm just super excited.
Speaking of Intercontinental titles, wouldn't look
go.
bad on them.
Yeah.
Wouldn't look bad on them.
Absolutely.
He's on the blue brand though.
Well,
They've got guys though in LWO who aren't doing anything who are amazing. Joaquin Wild was incredible in TNA, and they are not doing anything with him. He's not even Spanish at all. He's Filipino.
He's a Filipino. Yeah, I was telling my fiance that.
He's like honorary Latino. He spent so much time in Mexico, and he like loved lucha. He's honorary.
Yeah. He's like Owen Hart in the Nation of Domination.
Hey,
Rob, I got to correct you on one thing.
Going back to Santos, like in the topic of the IC title. So, this is one of those cases of, does he need the title or does the title need him? Because there's those two different ways of looking at it. So if you build up the title and then you wanna build up the title, you wanna build up Gunther, and then you were like, all right, so let's pull the trigger on Santos. Let's make him legit. Let's go after the title. And that's how you can build him. However, if you don't have a good contender, if Santos is not ready for that, and then you give him the title, then it's going to devaluate the title.
Right.
I know for a fact he can do it, because when he was in NXT, what title did he have? And he elevated that title, and it was a shit title.
He went the cruiserweight title.
Cruiserweight title. Remember when he had that bad boy NXT? He did something that was impossible, man. I mean, so yes, 100%. I'm with you 100%.
You mean he was a better champion than Leo Rush?
Yes, 10 times better.
Interesting. Huh.
In that capacity.
Yeah, Leo wouldn't agree with that, but
he was on Impact Wrestling for like 1 week.
So talking titles, one more match before the men's War Games, and that was Rhea Ripley defending against Zoe Stark. Solid match, but we know, I think even by the timing of mentioning it right as the match was going on, and that's the fact that they're going to Perth right before WrestleMania for the Elimination Chamber. So Rhea most likely is going into Australia with the belt, right?
But even though like that's a fact. That's who's to say that she wouldn't lose it and win it again. Even with that, I still think Zoe Stark had no chance of winning this match at all.
No.
Yeah, that's the thing lately, is that Rhea she's had opponents, but not opponents that the fans believe the chance to beat her title. I think just how a lot of people figured out earlier this year about Roman beating certain numbers, or they're beating certain numbers. I think Rhea is in that picture now of people saying, well, she's holding it at least to Australia, so it's like, what do you do with her? She's.
Well, hold on. I have a question about that. Is it bad to have a swerve and have her lose her belt at an off premium live event to get it back at WrestleMania and make the story that she's going to come back like the Empire Strikes Back and then be a spoiler for somebody at WrestleMania? Why would they have to hold it until WrestleMania? That's my only question.
It's not WrestleMania. For her, it's not for WrestleMania. It's the February Elimination Chamber in her home country. So I would honestly prefer if she lost it at a house show and then she chased it to and she got the victory there and then went on to WrestleMania.
Like Kane, where Kane won it on Sunday night at some random house show and then shows up on Monday night and has to drop it. But I'm saying
he wanted that King of the Ring. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question real quick? What about her? What about her dropping that belt, right? Whenever, and we had talked about it a little bit earlier, and maybe this is just a little bit. Maybe I'm reaching. She'd be the fourth member of not maybe Damage Control, but somebody that will utilize Damage Control, and then you have a fourth, and then you have three small, capable women with a larger than life Rhea Ripley. Versus four horsewomen. I just wanted to put that out there. I know it's a reach, guys.
Who would it make sense for Rhea to lose the title to today?
That's a good question.
It depends.
The best women are at SmackDown. The best challenges for her are at SmackDown.
Yeah. But she goes back and forth.
She's not gonna drop it until WrestleMania, anyways.
If she drops it,
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't.
Either way, she's having the belt.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them of her dropping it before Australia and then winning it in Australia, because you got to
give me a name. To who?
They're not going to Australia more than once next year, so you have that celebration that she won it in her home country. You can only do that once in probably maybe her career. She probably only do that once. So doing it at a house show soon or Monday Night Raw and then to Australia to win it back, I see that happening more than her holding it straight till WrestleMania.
Okay, here's what she does. She's guaranteed at AEW to go to Wembley Arena where there will be 90,000 people in attendance. Tony Khan promises these will be complete sold-out seats now, not the 15,000 giveaways, and she'll be glad to win it.
Hey, is it okay if I can answer Charmaine? She keeps saying Jade and Rhea. I'm going to take what Triple H basically said in the press conference after Survivor Series with regards to Jade Cargill. And this is something that I think a lot of people understand. It's not about whether she's not ready or not. Triple H basically said, I want to make sure that anything that gets pitched, she can handle it. She's definitely capable of it. She definitely has the look and the feel of what it takes. But they want to make sure she has the best possible opportunity. And right now, it doesn't seem like that time frame is right now. It's in her best interest to go to the learning tree at NXT, get everything that you can, take what you've learned. And Triple H even said, not anything gets her. It's just that's not what AEW is known for. They just don't. They don't have a learning tree like that. They do the best of what they can. But WWE has that.
I want to say this about Jade Cargill, and I've said this earlier in other shows. They already did the smart thing by introducing the audiences to her, by having her go up to Charlotte Flair and Charlotte Flair acknowledging her. And they did it again with Becky Lynch. You don't need NXT for her. She doesn't have ring rust. She's not very sloppy in the ring. She's got good mic skills. I don't want to see her die on the vine at NXT like they've done with other talent that were prominent in other promotions, and then they never leave NXT. They get stuck in the nursery center. That's a problem with her. Put her out there. Put her on Monday Night Raw.
What if she's like Dragon Lee?
Flooded. Raw
is exactly. Like Jade honestly needs NXT. Like there's whether she goes or not, that's still to be debated. But she honestly needs NXT. You saw Hunter's comment.
I'm buddying on this
you
one.
saw Hunter's comments this weekend, and I mean it said a lot.
What they would do sometimes is that they would put him on the house shows as their training, basically. If they did that and kind of kept her off TV match wise for a while, and then maybe just to have her do promo or some shit, just to kind of keep her fresh, and then put her on the live event.
I like Charmaine.
Yeah,
There's actually a lot.
You're wrong.
There's a lot for Jade to do in NXT. There's a whole lot. You have Roxanne, you have Tiffany Stratton, you got Lash Legend. You know, there's a lot for her to do in NXT. You know, and a Dragon Lee thing where she's only there for 3 months. You know, I'm not saying she has to go there the whole time, but I think
But historically, what happens a lot of times in NXT, more often than not, from what I've seen, is that they build up a character on NXT, and then by the time they get to the big roster, they abandon all of the work that they did in NXT, either the name or the persona, or they do that over and over and over again. They
Rob,
I mean, it's what they do. They love to do it.
I do have to. I do have the premises.
Back to the Vince McMahon era of WWE.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna be straight honest with you. Everyone at NXT, Vince has never been to the Performance Center, so he didn't know what was going on there. There's so many people on the main roster in creative that never knew what was going on at NXT. They never watched the weekly TV. They watched the takeovers. So when they were presented with someone and said, "Hey, this is who this," you know, we're calling them up. They had to figure out what to do and how to repackage them, because they had no clue. They couldn't watch, you know, NXT.
But that's kind of the point, though. If they don't even think the product is worthwhile, they package NXT as almost.
It's not that not that they don't think the product's worthwhile. It's just that when you're on the creative on the main roster, you probably don't have time to think. When it was under Vince McMahon's, you know, regime, you didn't have time, because you probably went to bed at 8 p.m. thinking you have a 7 a.m. meeting, and then Vince wakes up at 2 a.m. after he came from the gym. It's like the meeting's at 2:15, and you're up and you're just like, fuck, you know. And
okay,
that's not.
But my point
that's not being sarcastic. That's shit that has actually happened. I know people who have done that shit where they're up at 2:15 having a fucking production meeting over shit. But if you look, Hunter knows what works for NXT, and if you look at TV the past month or so, he's bringing that back. He's bringing back Pete Dunne. He brought back.
I'm not arguing that he's done a bad job at NXT. I think he's done an excellent job. But again, you're justifying my point, which is great. She could be great there, but she can also be great right now on Raw, where they have a vacuum of people to challenge Rhea Ripley that look credible. And you've already introduced her to national audiences. Now you're going to put her down with the kids. She
could be great. It's not being down with the kids, because her last appearance on WWE television was at NXT Halloween Havoc. That was her very last appearance.
But they put her out everywhere. They put her out everywhere within the course of that month and a half.
Yeah, but her very last appearance was on NXT. So, you know, she's like, if Hunter felt that she was ready for WWE television, she'd be on WWE TV right now. But she's not. Her match isn't
he's trying to put over his program. Because he has a soft spot for NXT. He's trying to pack NXT. I don't blame him.
Hunter hasn't been at NXT for over a year and a half. He hasn't been to Orlando. He doesn't go to the takeovers. It's all Sean, you know, and you know, it's different life now. It's a different world. Trust me. I'm in NXT. Go ahead.
If I could just interject real quick, fellas. The one thing, that reason why I did bring that up, what Triple H was saying is, in the way I looked at it, was first and foremost, if you buy a, let's just say, if I buy a Tesla, okay, I'm not going to just let it sit in my garage. Okay. I'm not. Jade Cargill was an acquisition of a talent with tremendous upside. Okay. Now, the thing with upside is a very strong probability you can make them successful. Okay. Now, the thing is, I'm not debating, and I think a lot of people agree too, that she lacks talent. No, I don't think she lacks talent. I think she does have it. I think what they're doing right now is they're trying to find the best way to launch her, put her in a position to where you can focus on her, make her malleable so that everybody who didn't watch AEW, because remember, that's a large population of diehard WWE people that don't watch AEW, know who she is, know what she's about, and then put her through the great machine that is WWE and make her what she's destined to be, a star. Because you don't have someone like Jade Cargill. Trust me. My fiance watches wrestling sparsely and looked at Jade Cargill and said, "Who is she? She must be somebody." Do you see my point? So again, I'm telling you, that's what Triple H. I feel he was saying. We're gonna find the
Triple
best
H was,
way so that way she's read.
Yeah, he was saying that, but at the same time, they're training her to handle pro wrestling as a sports entertainer. They're training her to say, "Hey, if shit happens in the ring, this is what you got to do." You know, if someone gets knocked out, or if someone, if people forget what they're doing, you can't just stumble around and look what the shit that's happened in AEW. They're teaching her the qualities of television sports entertainment. The Triple H comment was very interesting because I know he was trying to knock EW, but in reality, it was almost like inadvertently he was knocking the Nightmare Factory. I find interesting because that's Cody's baby. Because Jade, that's where she trained. So I know he was trying to, but she was actually training at the Nightmare Factory. You know, it almost came off, he was saying that she's not ready. And it was she trained at her.
If you want to put her out, and let's say you tried to put her with Rob Stone, Robbie E, formerly Robbie E, or you want to make another Mark Sterling thing, and if that's what you're trying to do is find somebody who could be her mouthpiece, to be her Paul Heyman, and you're saying, we're waiting. Whether or not you put her on NXT isn't even the point. You're kind of dragging your heels getting her out there, and you already made the point to introduce her to the world and push her over on social media hard, and I still have not seen her gear up yet. So I get it. You guys pushed really hard to make people aware of her. And if your casual person does not tune into NXT, you've wasted her. If you put her on NXT, you are wasting her because she's not going to be
How are they
seen.
wasting her when NXT just signed a TV deal to go from cable to network television?
I could care less. NXT could shoot a rocket to Mars. I'm not watching it. It's
going to NXT is not wasting her. NXT is right now almost on the verge of beating AEW in demos and ratings. Like that's not racist. That's not wasting it.
And it's not outrageous.
If you don't care, that's fine. You're one of 800,000 that doesn't care. But I can tell you right now, the plan is for her to go to NXT. That's flat out.
That's a flat out.
And it could be a waste. But they said that about Keith Lee. They said that about Adam Cole. They said that about Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. Anyone who was ROH fan was like, why are these motherfuckers going through NXT?
And they didn't get to that main roster. They made Keith Lee the bear cat. They didn't know what to do with them. They wasted all of those guys that you mentioned. They never made it past the little golden gate of NXT.
Yeah,
that was their WWE heyday.
Rob,
you're comparing what they did and didn't do based on the Vince
it's not about the wrestlers. I don't think it's anything to do with the wrestlers. I think they were talented. I think they were great. I think Adam Cole made NXT great, but then they squandered him. You can't say they didn't.
Rob, stop living 3 years ago. Live in the present. Let the product develop and watch the product. The fact of the matter is that you're talking about Keith Lee. AEW is doing a fucking fantastic job with him.
Way better with him. Yeah.
And I'm not arguing that they haven't found a vehicle for him either over there, but Adam Cole did well at AEW. He hit the ground running.
He did well in NXT as well.
He did. Yeah, he did that. Yeah, and who is Adam Cole's wife? So that's why he's prominent in AEW.
I mean, if we're going to pick a NXT to AEW name, they're not at Swerve.
Yeah.
Oh,
Swerve, that is someone
Swerve has done amazing in AEW. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's someone who's actually jumped better than his NXT run. So 100%. Without any politics, without dating anyone, without anything at all, it's Swerve. So.
But apart from the injuries, would you say that Adam Cole has had a bad run at AEW?
No,
more bad luck.
Yeah.
With the
He had to run a
injuries.
bad luck.
I think he's been fine when he's been active. But can I tell you what Triple H, what I think Triple H meant, especially considering who was the person that asked the question about Jade Cargill at the press conference? He, whatever. He doesn't have the best reputation. Obviously, a lot of these guys just want the clickbaits, and it feels like a lot of the narrative on the Twitter, the people, Nick Hausman, the people's whose opinion don't really matter, on Twitter. It's you guys signed Jade Cargill. She hasn't been on TV yet. I looked at a Triple H as saying she's not going to be on TV when you guys say so. She's going to be on TV when we say so. Like, you guys aren't going to dictate how we use our talent that we're paying for. So it's just as simple as when we find the right fit for her, whether it's NXT, Raw, or SmackDown. And at the end of the day, whether she goes to NXT, it's not going to Raw and SmackDown are not going to suffer from Jade Cargill going to NXT. Also, Jade Cargill is not going to suffer by going to NXT instead of Raw or SmackDown. Like, people are still going to flourish however they are meant to flourish.
It's a win-win situation for Jade Cargill, whether she goes to NXT or she goes to Raw or SmackDown. I actually would agree with Travis on this about her going to NXT if they didn't do the segment with her and Charlotte Flair. To me, I thought that was a big deal to throw that out there, and Charlotte, acknowledged her a little bit and kind of brushed past her. There's a reason why they do that. There's 6 steps ahead of whatever we're
Becky
thinking.
Lynch.
But hold on,
Becky went.
let me ask you a question. Hold on. I'm just gonna say one comment. Just one comment.
Becky Lynch went down to NXT and won the title. So in the same fucking week. So it doesn't matter in the backstage, because let's be honest, Jade Cargill and Charlotte Flair is a great match, but let's fucking be honest. What's the match everyone wants to see?
Her and Bianca.
The person she didn't pass yet. It's Jade and Bianca. Okay?
And
so
let me hit you with this.
I don't care if she walks past Charlotte, Stephanie, Linda, whoever. The match everyone wants to see is Jade and Bianca, and that's just,
and let me hit you.
And like I said,
I want to see Jade versus Lash Legend.
Let me hit you with this. They
and NXT. Thank you very much.
They want to see her and Bianca. Bianca's not on NXT.
But here's the thing, guys. You guys are leaving one thing out, or maybe you just hadn't had a chance to yet. But NXT and the way it's run is different now. You have cameos upon cameos upon cameos, and that's designed that way for numbers. They just had a new television thing to where now they're on a different channel. So of course you're going to want to sprinkle a little bit of main roster on there to get more viewers to tune in. And yes, you want to create that excitement of, hey, remember when Charlotte's coming into NXT for this upcoming pay-per-view? Oh my gosh, you remember whenever she passed Jade Cargill? They want you to do that. This is a system, y'all. It's all about money.
And you said like they just brought in Lexus King, and he was rough around the edges at AEW. He wasn't hitting spots. He wasn't very charismatic. So him going to NXT, I looked at it and went, okay, I watched his first match and I was like, this is better. He needs to grow as a character. He needs to grow in the ring. He needs to be polished. No problem with that. Not for her.
Okay. So we talked that to death.
Yeah, we did.
So let's look.
Not like there's talented girls in AEW anyway.
My girl Athena. Come on.
She's in
ROH.
I mean, AEW, like I said, it's all the same. I mean,
no,
it's not. It's not all the same because Athena's not on TV. Tony's baby is Britt, and who he wants to be Britt's opponent, Britt doesn't get along with. So there's no one.
Britt's feeling cavities right now in Florida.
What'd you say?
Britt's
what'd you say? What'd you say, Michaels? What did you say? You were saying?
So you know what, we're getting to that point of the main event, the men's War Games. Ricardo, when you look at the the two teams that they had, obviously Randy came back. How much more of a boost does that give the energy to that crowd when they're waiting for CM Punk, obviously, because it's Chicago. But here comes Randy Orton, who hasn't been seen, for almost a year and a half or whatever the hell it's been. It's been forever. Does Randy just up that game? Kind of like, when Cena comes in, it just kind of goes up. That level goes up. Is Randy coming back now, bringing it back up again?
I think, obviously, Randy has that star power. And then kind of going back into the topic of, like, you don't realize what you have until they're gone. So I think Randy was a big part of that concept, of that idea. I didn't appreciate Randy too much, and he had to go away for a little bit to get reappreciated. We all expected Punk, but without knowing that Punk was coming back, quote unquote, I think Randy was a good supplement to kind of put in that extra oomph into the match.
Right.
Yeah. So obviously, I do feel a little bit bad though for Randy and the idea that obviously Punk took away the Thunder. So I'm sure Randy would have preferred had it just been him. But yeah, he definitely took the Thunder away from Randy. Well, Punk took the away from Randy, but I mean, it was a great way to end the night. I don't think there were any bad matches throughout the night.
Did he really take the Thunder away?
I gotta jump on that.
Did he really take the Thunder away?
Yeah, I think so. Because at the end of the night, they weren't really talking about Randy. They were talking about how Jackson was. They were talking about how Jackson was.
He's on that Carlito diet.
You know what it was like when CM Punk took his Thunder? Remember when Farrah Fawcett died? Like June.
Yes, it was the same day that Michael Jackson. Sorry, I just ruined it.
Farrah Fawcett died around 9:00,
Mm-hmm.
and it was sad. Everybody's talking about it. Michael Jackson.
It was in the morning.
Michael Jackson died at 3 p.m. Nobody talked about Farrah Fawcett.
Yep.
The bigger star came through, and that's what happened to Randy. Unfortunately, it was just CM Punk came out.
And he also looked like 15 years younger than he did on AEW. The haircut, the way they put him out there, he looked way younger.
And I looked at it and I felt so bad for Randy. It was just like, what are you gonna do? It's in Chicago.
Point. Like,
I don't feel bad for Randy.
Oh,
I don't feel bad for Randy.
But I mean, like,
because Randy,
damn.
The fuck? Look at him. Look at his wife.
Well,
Jack,
not even just those things. Not even just those things. But I was saying I don't feel bad for Randy because look at the injury that he overcame.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk that he was probably going to have to hang it up begrudgingly. And
he
the
was
fact
so smooth
that
in the ring, though, yesterday. I couldn't tell where they operated on him, if they even did.
And it's interesting that you say that because that was the first thing I looked at because a lot of the reports that were coming out on Randy Orton after he had I think it was the double fusion back surgery, that he was going to have to change his style around. He was going to have to be a little bit more stiff. He wasn't going to be able to do the power slam as crisp as he did. Got doggone it. That power slam was crisp, and he delivered it twice.
It looked great.
True, but at the same time, he didn't take any bumps.
He didn't.
So I can't judge.
He took the
I can't judge.
Bump.
I can't judge Randy's return based on the guy not taking bumps. I'm not taking anything away from Randy because you guys feel that something was taken away from him on Saturday, and I don't want to take anything from him again on a Sunday. But it's like they've already announced Randy and Punk on Raw tomorrow. We all know one's going to be in different hours. You know, it's not like they're going to be in the same hour. Their own hour to do whatever. I think it was like the match ended and the show was over, and then here you get 90 seconds of Punk and then the show's gone. So it's I don't think anything was taken because it wasn't like the Batista thing where he returned and got booed when he was supposed to get cheered. You know, he easily could have gotten booed in Chicago because the fans were expecting Punk and so on. But the fans went completely fucking nuts for Randy Orton. And, he's good.
But those CM Punk chants drowned out everything else. You immediately forgot about Randy. Randy became part of a match.
They will. I mean,
CM Punk became the whole night was capped.
Yeah, of course. I mean, CM Punk
But
is the show. I mean, CM
I
Punk was
completely
trending
forgot
above
about
the,
Randy Orton.
But
you
can we
forgot
also
about the
point
show
out,
itself, though.
where did this
like
happen,
you didn't forget
guys?
about Randy
Where-
Orton.
In
You forgot about
Chicago.
the.
Well, hold on.
You
Where
forgot
did
about
it
the
happen?
show.
Where did it happen?
Huh?
Where did
Chicago.
it happen?
In
Okay,
the United
now,
States
if
of
this-
America.
Okay, if this didn't happen in Chicago, I'm not stating people wouldn't have shouted CM Punk, but it
No,
wouldn't have
they
been
wouldn't.
as
If
deafening because
Survivor
it was in
Series-
Chicago.
If Survivor Series was in a different city than Chicago, CM Punk was
He
not
wouldn't
coming
have come
back
back.
last night.
He wouldn't have come back.
Well, of course not.
Yeah.
We already know.
Of course,
We already
I mean,
know.
it's like.
Hold on. Can
of
we
course-
get a death counter on CM Punk before he fucks up and gets fired again? How many months are we talking?
Hold on. Allow me to.
Because you got to
explain this one,
understand,
if I
Well,
can.
according to
WWE
Red
has
Hot, 6 months.
Say this again.
WWE has a front office called Endeavor, and Endeavor is not going to deal with that bullshit. Also, Punk is smart enough to know he's not going to throw a punch to anyone back there because they'll kick his ass. You know, I'll walk into AEW right now and bitch slap Jungle Boy. So it's like, you know, I mean, he did.
Jungle
Did you
Boy's
see
in a
Punk?
hole in the desert.
I
Did
saw
you
him like
see
a month
Punk?
ago.
Did Punk go up to Hook? Did Punk go up to Jack Swagger? No. You know,
You think
it's
Hook?
like
You think Hook can take CM Punk?
No, but his daddy can.
do I think Hook can take CM Punk?
Yeah.
I'll answer that question off air.
You know,
So,
it's
real quick, guys, it's I'm on the East Coast time and it's getting a little late on this end, so I gotta head home. But thank you guys for the chat. I gotta call it a night. I gotta be up early. But
Cool.
Lahayam, Bros, Compai.
Van Nuys for life.
That nice for life.
Van Nuys
There
for
it is.
life.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you, Ricardo. Hey, I wanted to just say this real quick because a lot of people have been talking about, well, not a lot of people, but I've seen some stuff on social media like, you know, CM Punk was already in AEW, he's in WWE. What's the difference? Yada, yada, yada. Why are people so excited about cheering him? You know, I'm going to give my example that I said in my head, and I explained it yesterday to a friend. I said, you know, when CM Punk went to AEW, it was good. It was great. You know, we're able to see him again. But I kind of put that in the same category as a movie that y'all may well know. You know the franchise Ghostbusters, right? So Ghostbusters had a movie in 2016 that came out. Great movie. It was good, right? Melissa McCarthy,
Glad
Kristen
someone thinks
Wiig, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones. It was watchable, and I watched it a couple of times with the kids. We had a moment, right? It was good, right? It was good, but it didn't really quite capture Ghostbusters. Now, later on, 2021, Afterlife. Y'all have to admit, as far as Ghostbusters, that hit on all cylinders. It was good.
I cried.
Me too.
You know what's funny?
Hold on.
I said,
Spengler Ghost.
Hold on. Let me
Ghost,
finish.
that was.
Yeah.
Let me finish, and I'm gonna pass over if it's okay to my man who's about to say it, Mr. Hermosa.
Travis wants to get back to watching the best of.
I know he does, but check this out. How many of y'all felt the same way I did when I saw CM Punk come out? It just hit different. It really did than the AEW. I don't know what the boy's gonna do on Raw. I don't know what he's gonna do with his multi-year contract he said he signed. Right? I just know that it felt better, just like the Ghostbusters Afterlife. It just felt more connected.
Let me ask you a question. Did it feel better, or did it feel like this fucking company took another one of their players?
All of the above.
Yeah, in every way. In every way. Like they can deal with Punk a hell of a lot better than maybe AEW. And I've shared my criticism on AEW and where they lack. A lot of that is personnel, dealing with a lot of large personalities and stuff like that. I'm telling you, as Travis said earlier, you're not doing that with Endeavor. Punk knows how far he can take it, and he ain't gonna be able to take it here, and he's gonna be happy because there's one thing that Punk will get that a lot of people in AEW who jump ship may not get. And that's one thing that no other company has that in pro wrestling. A distinguished, keyword distinguished, Hall of Fame.
And, you know, and in all fairness to CM Punk, how everybody talks about how he is backstage, maybe they're just really immature at AEW.
Wait,
and maybe
but no, that's like I said, look at who he had an issue with.
That's what I'm saying.
Are those people mature at all?
Yeah, but he also should know, hey, I'm getting antagonized by a kid. I'm just going to go the other way because I have more to lose than Jungle Boy Jack Perry. So
Did
why
he have
should
more to
he
lose,
even?
though?
Well,
he didn't
I
have
don't
more to
know.
lose.
Wait.
He couldn't have done that with
Yes,
Randy Orton, though. He couldn't have done that with Randy Orton.
But
Yeah,
I don't
Randy
think,
also
I don't think
wouldn't be
Randy.
immature to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Randy wouldn't be immature to do that in the first place. That's what I'm saying about
True.
AEW.
Just
Like,
real quick, because I know we're going to talk a little bit more about CM Punk. Just going back what Rome was saying, I felt the same way when Hogan came back in 2014. Because just like 6 months before, he was in TNA, and I'm like, why does this feel just different and better when Hogan came back to WWE in 2014? I don't know if it was whether it's Real American, but it was just something, and just something about WWE that's so intangible that just feels like people just come home. Right, what happened when Cody came back, and then happened when CM Punk came back.
I'll tell you. I know. You got to wrap up, Mike. I'll tell you what it is, Matt. I tell you what it is. It's the production of WWE. It's not just the person walking through the curtain. It's the videotrons. It's the lights. It's the roar of the crowd. The production makes it so much fucking better. That's the Allstate Arena, formerly the Rosemont Horizon. One of the oldest company still runs. They ran WrestleMania 2 there. They made that fucking arena look like a stadium the past 2 nights. It's the production of WWE, and that's what.
But that, but they were smart in picking their spot with CM Punk. Everything they did was perfectly timed. To
AEW cannot touch that. It's the production, and that's all it comes down to is the production.
Agreed.
We talked about War Games. We talked about War Games matches. There's one thing I need to bring out about both War Games matches. I think the biggest pop of the night in both matches was the fucking table. These fans right now in WWE love table spots.
I never liked them.
I love the thing where who was it? Asuka kept bringing out the Kindle sticks and they were booing her, and she got the table, and she was the biggest. She got the third biggest pop of the night for bringing out a table.
Yeah.
And and I mean the men's War Games, which is what we're talking about. I thought that was classic, and I was like, wow. He put Seth through the table, and they're about to fucking cash in the Money in the Bank in a fucking War Games match. Like that, it was just the timing, the pacing, everything was perfect. We got Orton coming out. They won the match. JD off the top of the cage until RKO.
Shout out to JD for taking that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how he took that
on the men's War Game. You were 100% right. The pacing on that was so good. The camera work was so good on that. The women. Not that they didn't do a good job, but who was ever producing that match and doing the camera work on the women's match, there were great spots for about 30 seconds where the women are doing nothing and are looking to Becky for guidance. And I'm like, you guys are doing the women a disservice because you're slopping it up with the way you were going through all the shots. Horrible work on the women's. On the men, they fixed it.
I think the men's one needed a little bit more blood and guts.
I think they were trying to go
kidding.
with.
I'm kidding.
I think they were trying to go for two different. Rob, to answer your question, I think they were trying to go for two different type of styles. At least that's what I witnessed. Two different styles, same type of match. And even though the contestants, one was female, one was male, I felt like it was two different ways of shooting it a little bit. And I think it might have been intended. I could be wrong.
I think it was an accident, but there were a lot of times when you look and they're all confused. There's one spot where Shotzi is trying to direct traffic and do an elbow or something, and then Bailey's not in position. So they literally have the camera watching Bailey scooch into position. I'm like, again, the shirt. That's what I'm like, come on. You guys are better than this.
So John made a good point here. Punk looked like he forgot what it was to see fans on the hard cam side again. That's a question I have, and I've had this question for the longest time, and that is, did Punk ultimately play Tony Khan to his advantage and basically work himself to get fired so he could, he already raised his.
You'll find out tomorrow. He'll call him out
tomorrow. Do you remember what happened about a month or two before he got fired? Last time WWE was in Chicago?
He was there.
Yeah, he was there making good on promises and saying I apologize and hugging it out with Triple H. And
he wanted catering. Come on, dude. The catering's tremendous. He was there for the catering.
Hey man, catering is where you ask for forgiveness and you hug.
Shout out to Tamina for making it happen.
Oh, your God.
There you
I
go.
gotta ask you guys this. I had to ask. It might just be me, but when the copyright popped up on the screen, did you think the pay-per-view was over?
Yep.
Because
Of course, everyone did.
I was like, oh, okay, no CM Punk.
Yeah,
And then
everyone
when it
did.
happened, and then when it happened, even me being a worker, a grown man, his music hit, I jumped up.
But that's
It
like
got me.
that's
It
a
got
Triple
me.
H staple,
It got
though.
me.
Don't you know
It was
a
good.
Triple H staple?
Yeah,
That was
Triple H
really
has
good.
always done that, and he gets us every single time because we
You
forget
got
that
me.
he does
Going
it.
to be
You got me.
like Team Force America. You ever see Team Force America where the guy comes back tomorrow? He's going to come out and Triple H is going to go, "You can trust him. He sucks my dick."
So Andre makes a wonderful statement here. The fact that the Elite wouldn't do an angle with Punk lets you know that the leadership within AEW is lacking. Like they always say in football, you have to be a leader of men, and Tony isn't. AEW missed their biggest opportunity. Guys,
I'm not
agree?
going to say nothing. I'm not going to say nothing. I've already said it months and months and years, and you can go back and watch those videos. Exactly what
That's
I
a whole
said
different
at Simon
show.
Street.
Yeah.
Different show.
Beyond the work he did with MJF, it was like he hit a wall and he couldn't go any further. And that was on him or on Tony. I don't know. But yeah, that was bad.
All right, guys. So
Will Ospreay, though. Woo-hoo!
Which he's already there anyway. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, you've been wrestling here.
I
For
know,
That was
it's like-
weird.
We're
He's
signing
on
a guy
the
that
TNA
already
roster.
works for us.
He's on.
And
He's listed
next
on
week-
the TNA roster. So
And he's still gonna be able to wrestle like in New Japan and everything else.
it's the same thing, but in reverse.
So you know, they tried to counterbalance this with the Twitter post about how Tony has signed Jay White and Will Ospreay and whoever the hell else you know was signed with an Edge and Bushi, right? Listen, and I just said it, Edge. I'm not a fan of either Edge or CM Punk. But when you look at the two debuting as surprises, quote unquote, at AEW, at WWE, fuck Adam Copeland, I agree. So what was the difference between the fact that Edge showed up and really has done shit? Punk shows up, and within that, 5 minutes, it just seemed like you had a fucking superstar come in. Whereas Edge, who is supposed to be the rated R superstar, it was just like, yeah, all right, he's here.
But I go back and say that that's the part where it's all about the production. You know, Edge came out. Sure, he got a remix of his song. He got some type of pyro. You know, I think it was a mix of the Becky Lynch smoke and the Gilbert sparklers. But
Oh my god.
it's the production of WWE, and this is something I admit today that I watched over maybe 5-6 times. Watch the moment when Punk's music hit, but watch section of the arena and just see how the fans react, and
I've
then
done that many times.
go back and watch the actual production. Watch the lights. See how the lights move, how fast the lights move. See what the LED screens at ringside are doing. See what the big video Tron in the middle of the arena above the ring is doing. It's what makes WWE untouchable.
Well, that's smart.
Because no one can touch that. And watch that when Punk comes out, and you'll see a different version of what happened last night when you look at the fans, and you'll see another version when you look at the production aspect. And that's something you realize that Tony cannot touch at all. You know,
when
Triple H did something stupid with Dominic, though. He goes, "Wow, I thought they were really phoning in those boos. This is real." And I'm kind of like, "Yeah, don't screw with the kayfabe too much, because I already know that you dick around with the freaking volume on booing crowds, and then you pan through the audience and no one's booing or cheering. but there's booze coming out in freaking stereo. How is this possible if you guys aren't phoning it in? If they did that with CM Punk to try to build the value for him and boost him, it was smart. You got me. I'm a mark.
Oh,
you
they
got
didn't.
me.
No, they didn't. They didn't have to because
in Chicago.
You guys do. Yeah, you do realize.
Come on, he's a patron saint of Chicago.
You know what? You know what though? It doesn't even have to be in Chicago. He's been gone for almost 10 years.
From
He's gonna
WWE.
get a pop in.
Oh, you know those idiots in the crowd are going to go, you still got it. You know he's going to get a you still got it chance.
For him being gone for 10 years, he would have got that pop from any place for that pop.
But let's face it, the guy made within the last 3 years 3 re-debuts in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And they loved it, every one of them.
They went crazy.
But you know why? But you want to know why Phil is able to do what he does? Because if you, well, other than that part, I think it's because when you look at certain people in this business, there are people who have to where they can adjust their levels. Some have the level on the mic, right? We talked about Miz earlier. Miz is somebody that can go on the mic. Miz is somebody that can go on social media and hype up his own goddamn match, right? CM Punk has that ability as well. Now, we haven't been able to see that showcase as much in AEW for whatever reason that is, but we all keep remembering Nostalgia Pipe Bomb. Someone that's like that, you know, you can get a bang for your buck, even if we're going to get Phil Brooks that was in AEW and, you know, the matches weren't as amazing as possible, but you still have somebody that can talk on a mic, someone that can fill in that character, click that box, be entertained. Triple H said in the press conference, he is the conversation. People talk about him. And they capitalized on that, obviously in Chicago, duh. But also, too, come Monday night, where's Raw going to be tomorrow,
Nashville.
Travis? You're going to be there, right? You going to be in Nashville? You're probably there now.
I'm sitting in the fucking airport parking lot right now.
I kind of figured. Okay.
All I know is I want to adopt
so we're going to find out
on the ramp because he gave a kid his Jordan 85s, which are like $800 a pair, took them off and handed them to a kid. I'm going to sit on my knees and like just bounce up and down. Hopefully he'll have an expensive pair of J's on and give them to me.
And you look like a kid with cancer too, Rob.
Oh my
it all works fine.
He'll get a Cody built also.
You might see
Connor's fun. What do they call that? Connor's cure?
Connor's cure.
Please.
There's 5 ball
I'm dying
guys
of
in
cancer.
here.
Give me your J's.
We got 5 ball guys in here.
We should all sign up.
Yeah, but I'm half black and I'm this white, so it's
I think George's the only one who has a hairline.
Man,
you guys all got
you
like
just
a
look
black
like Logic
background.
with glasses, man. You just like Logic with glasses.
Logic. Shout out to Logic.
Half black, half white.
And Travis.
All right.
Yes.
I gotta ask Travis this. Is TLC in December still?
No,
the next pay-per-view is not till Royal Rumble. There are 9 weeks. This is the first time ever. There's 9 weeks in between WWE pay-per-views.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
I was thinking
since back in the day.
what we were talking about with Randy Orton getting his thunder stolen. What if Randy RKO CM Punk tomorrow?
Oh, that would be amazing.
I wouldn't put them in the same segment.
And we know who he's feuding with. We know who
I
he's
know,
feuding with.
but that's why I asked you about
the
TLC.
suspension of belief though. Is that like
it would have been perfect?
Like I never
think
looked at CM Punk as a threat in the
Scooter.
ring. He looks squishy. He always looks squishy in the ring.
I think Randy should come out on his.
Is that going to be the Mania Day 1 main event? Rollins versus Seth for CM Punk?
Oh yeah.
That's what they're trying.
Is Punk going to
Yeah.
win the Rumble?
No.
Mm-mm.
Really?
I think what's going to happen. I think
Gunter is.
Event, I think CM Punk is going to go over on Rollins, and then Damian Priest is going to cash it in. That's what I'm thinking.
I think Punk wins the Rumble, faces Seth at Mania, and then what you said, Priest goes over.
No, I'm going with Gunter.
I think the way he gets distracted. By Damian Priest is Seth Rollins low blows him, curb stomps him, and then Damian Priest comes out and finishes it.
Well, I think we already know that Damian's going to be cashing in that briefcase because they made sure we knew last night the briefcase was not effectively cashed in. And I think that was the longest we've seen an attempt from Rhea in beholds for Damian Priest. I think that's the longest duration we've seen. So they made sure that we knew that was not an official cash in for obvious reasons, but also too, I think, to say it's coming.
I think
Tozawa
Damian
is going to be your WrestleMania spoiler. He's going to go and win the Royal Rumble and make it the whole way, and then he's going to do the shuffle with the belt.
ruffle shuffle. The
The
ruffle
ruffle
shuffle.
shuffle.
Does anybody
Shut up,
think
kid.
Cody's going back to back?
Yes.
I think Damian should spend all of Monday Night Raw tomorrow looking for the audio guy. Because if it wasn't for the audio guy pressing Randy Orton's music, Damian could have cashed in that fucking Money in the Bank.
And what a brilliant strategy to cash it in the middle of that match.
Mhm.
That's what I said.
I was like, oh, that's
Would
different.
That
you
was
wake
awesome.
up? We talked
That
about
was
this 10
awesome.
minutes ago.
Yeah.
The only
Were
Were
person
you
that
watching
can
LeBron
totally
highlights?
appreciate that
We
was
talked about
Seth.
this already.
So really quick, Jade brought up a point here. Don't forget, Miz has already did that, kept himself memorable from WWE to Dancing with Stars to his own reality series. You know, the question I have is, with this signing, are we getting Phil to branch out and do other things? Is that part of this deal that he's going to get, you know, some kind of, you know, opportunities, whether it be on television, reality show, something like that? Is he boosting his brand now to the next level of trying to be like a Cena, like a Rock?
I
Long
think
term,
so,
yes,
but
that's all I'll say.
you know, you got to realize, like I said, everything's different now. There's a parent company now that has so much, you know, so much power when it comes
They
to
got so many
entertainment and
connections.
sports. So they have so many connections. It's not just Phil Brooks. It's Zelina Vega. It's New Day. I mean, look at LA Knight. Got a sponsorship with Slim Jim. You know, so everyone now can just branch out because of who, you know, it's the parent company. A lot of people don't realize Endeavor are the agents for Jade. You know, there's so many things and so many ways people can branch out. Who do I see on Dancing with the Stars? If that was to ever happen, Bianca or Montez Ford. You know, I could see either one of
Or
them
what about Big
on the
E?
show.
What's happening with Big E? I know it's a little off subject, but you brought up the New Day, and we kind of danced
I mean,
around.
from what
Is
I
he good enough to
understand,
come
Big
back?
E's career is pretty much likely over. Big E was just on the college football game this past weekend on Fox, or was it NBC? So you know he's doing a lot, and I honestly see Big E coming back to do commentary. But the one thing I want to mention before we all leave about CM Punk, I think this is officially the return of AJ Lee in the Royal Rumble.
Which is great, which is super great. 100%.
There's George with his picture.
Crowd will go crazy.
Yeah, I think she's going to return at the Royal Rumble.
I think she's gonna be an authority figure for the women's division in NXT.
And then she'll be in AEW as a
isn't she the authority figure for what you call it? For WoW?
No,
she
wasn't. She hasn't because she hasn't been there for the last few tapings.
No, she's gone. She departed WoW.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, she was an executive producer for WoW. Then but now, and she said in some things where like she can't wrestle anymore. But then she said in another interview that it just has to be right. So
I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Daniel Bryan and Edge and everyone else said that they can't wrestle, and now they all signed with AEW. So,
and actually, to jump on what Travis said about all the endorsements and different deals these guys are getting, that's actually what CM Punk wanted all along when he went crazy on that podcast with Cole Cabana, talking about all the stuff he didn't get. So, everybody wins. Like, if CM Punk gets his happy ending, he gets his main event at WrestleMania. Like, it all works out. Like, WWE stays winning.
And more importantly, again, maybe it's just me because I'm a common man. If I'm in WWE and I've had quite a few accolades, for me, I wouldn't want to sit down and not ever be mentioned in the Hall of Fame for all the hard work I've done, all the memories I've made. And I know a lot of people sometimes don't look at the Hall of Fame as that nice golden carrot, but I think it is.
They do when they get the call.
Well, 100%. Because you know, I feel for some people like I know Impact has their own Hall of Fame or TNA has their own Hall of Fame, and I'm not besmirching that, but it's not on the same level. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not on the same
level.
Those
Hall of Fame tapings were in like a freaking Ramada Inn like basement.
Well, they're at the Motel set.
And especially going on what Punk was saying on the podcast, he ain't wrestling every week either. He ain't doing the house show loops, right? He ain't going to be wrestling on Raw.
Same thing for Orton.
He's not going to be on the Cody schedule.
So
right?
So do we see a segment at some point where we have Roman, Brock, and Punk all backstage with Heyman?
Oh Lord.
And going, okay, which one? Which one of us?
It almost sounds like the beginning of a Pokemon game where they make you pick three Pokemon
I think
and you don't know who you're going to pick.
Charmander.
No, I really think that. I think that at some point next year, there's going to be a segment on TV show where it's Heyman, Brock, Roman, and Punk all in the ring together. You know, I mean,
I say it's the night after WrestleMania.
It's either the night after WrestleMania or it's the first night wherever Raw lands. I see it on that first episode, you know, next year, you know, next September. So
what is it going to be like? Paul Heyman on a mattress, like unbuttoning his shirt slowly and going, "Okay, boys, fight over me."
There's only one person that he should stay with.
Brock Lesnar.
Oh, Roman.
Roman. Oh yeah. Hey, but you know, more importantly, we didn't even talk about it. I think I've heard lots of people. I wonder what Paul Heyman just either how much did he know Punk was coming back, or even if he didn't. I'm just curious because if you look back in the archives of Punk's history with WWE, Paul Heyman was very much an instrument in that, and so I always wonder sometimes, maybe what's the conversation that's going on in his head or behind the scenes. I'm just curious.
Well, we would assume that that Paul Heyman probably knew, and was probably one of the few people who actually knew.
How much pull does he have in the current administration, in the current WWE?
He's like the Wizard of Oz, from what I've heard. He's like the Wizard of Oz.
Heyman
grants wishes.
Yes, Heyman.
Heyman writes all.
Is he like a Bruce Pritchard level power, or
only for Roman stuff?
I wouldn't say power, but he's got like a influence in terms of like people go up to him because they think very highly of him.
Yeah,
but as far as like creative, it's all a Roman stuff.
Yeah.
There's one thing I didn't understand. If there's 8 weeks in between now and Rumble, why didn't they do War Games as its own separate show? Because they kept putting this seed out there that you were going to have Nick Aldis kind of feuding with the people on Raw, and then they didn't do anything with that.
What's the rush?
You got both brands in the row.
They're slowly building it up. They're slowly building up, which is fine. But just wondering.
You have both brands in the Royal Rumble.
Right.
Yeah.
And you also got to figure. So that Aldis Cody brief confrontation. Remember, when Cody wins that title, he's going to be on SmackDown, and Aldis is going to be the foe. So he's going to be the foil for sure.
It's going to be interesting.
Does Nick Aldis ever get in a ring?
Yes.
At some point, I would hope so.
Yes.
That's my wish list.
He's still very young, and he's still young and healthy.
And
I'd love for Pierce, but I think Pierce is a little like maybe mid-40s or something like that.
He came in the single.
Aldis versus Pierce. I don't know. That would be a stretch on Pierce's part.
It'd be a stretch for Pierce, but I'm saying my point is like Aldis is that minus 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Blake, go ahead.
I'm sorry, really quick. I got to get going, but I just want to say thank you.
I got to go catch a flight. So, anything else, Mr. Michaels?
No, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you for listening. And we appreciate the time that everyone put in. Again, catch us next week live streaming on Sunday. And until then, happy wrestling, everybody.